for 2024. Can you believe it? And there is Angie, the wonderful Angie. 1 second. Invite to co-host. I believe that's worked, so that should be heading your way now. Let me just tell everyone that it is live. Bum, bum, bum. Hello.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Happy
I
Friday.
am.
And last Friday of the, well, really, last Friday, working Friday of 2024.
Yes, it is. And I am very much here for it for a half a day.
Well, exactly
I'm not even putting in a full
that.
day. And it's Colton's school party this afternoon. So I'm going to go pick up some treats and we're going to party this afternoon. And then, yeah, next week, Monday is the only day that I'm really planning on working. And then it's happy holidays.
Also,
So,
that's working in inverted commas, right? It's
yes,
like,
exactly. I'll be
return.
here, but
Yeah.
my brain may not be. So.
Brilliant, brilliant. So, what have you got for us today, my love?
Well, I started to write down some notes here, and I'm like, well, we'll just free for all it because it's Friday. What the hell?
All right.
And so one of the biggest things, obviously, we've been that we can't
Hang
finish the
on,
week.
sorry.
Oh,
Sorry,
legals.
sorry. I
Use
forgot to do the
legals,
list. I was so excited to cancel out the week. I forgot the
right?
legal.
We're like, you're almost there too. Like it's 3:15 for you right now.
15 here, so basically, I'm signing off as soon as I've done this. So yes, that's
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll hurry. I'll make it quick. Do the
yeah.
legals.
Please. So nothing discussed on this space session constitute trading or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by PIQ. Trading as PIQ Global Limited or PIQ Suite, or indeed the hosts, which, as you know by now, is the amazing Angie and myself, Ryan.
Also amazing. I feel like I
Oh,
always have
stop
to
it,
add, or
you.
it's
Stop
just
it.
not nice.
Stop it.
So yeah, what
Christmas.
do we watch at Friday Free for All, right? Let's see what Beans can do today. We had a pretty traumatic experience there on Wednesday, blacked out halfway through the day, and pretty much just woke up and it was Thursday. Gained a lot of that back. We were down 25 cents there on Wednesday, gained back 11 cents yesterday. We're up 7 cents on the overnight. And so we're really just going to be paying attention to what's happening there. A lot of that we are seeing more stability come back into the Brazilian currency. At least we did sort of late in the day yesterday. I find it ironic that we've had all of this sort of hand wringing and pearl clutching about what's going on in Brazil and their economic outlook. And it looks like the US government's actually going to shut down at midnight tonight. So we should probably keep pushing that dollar higher. Just kind of funny to me that, like the difference in optics there. But it does look like they have done what they needed to do, at least in the short term, to kind of stabilize the outlook. We are seeing their central government or central bank come in and really work to stabilize the currency as well, and do all that they can to aggressively kind of attack things. We did see both the current central bank governor and the incoming central bank governor kind of reinforce the idea that we are going to see these increases in interest rates. I'm going to cough. I'm going to mute myself real quick. I inhaled just the tiniest speck of spit just a second ago, and I was like, "Oh, we're going down." But we are going to see them increase interest rates here after the first of the year, a couple hundred points. Both of them, a couple hundred basis points, excuse me. Both of them agree that that's something that's necessary to happen. The economic outlook looks great, but they have this big risk of overheating. With all of the money that kind of comes in from the exports and this, that, and the other thing. What's most interesting to me is that everyone kind of keeps hammering this sort of drum that, okay, well, if Brazil's currency remains weak, the Brazilian farmer is going to be a huge seller. And I think this week's kind of proven that that's not necessarily the case. You've seen farmer selling slow down pretty decently, pretty solidly here over the last couple of weeks. Now, of course, they don't have supplies to actively sell. The crop isn't completed yet, so you still have a lot of uncertainty and you still have time. But it is one of those things that we'll kind of continue to watch what happens in Brazil over the weekend and throughout, the next several weeks, months, years, just simply because it all will have an impact on how much grain is moving into the pipeline and what we're going to see there when it comes to U.S. competition. So, any questions after
No,
bullet point one?
no, all good, all good.
All right. Bullet point two is China. And what we're seeing. And so I did have a kind of am starting to pick up in a shift. And so one of the things that we've talked about, right, is do we get a shift in sentiment, a shift in idea, a shift in belief of what happens next? And I am starting to see more than one source out there that I would consider reputable, or at least somewhat in the know that I, would look at as, people that that have insight into how things are going on or what is going down. And one of the things that I found most interesting here in this sort of recent shift potentially in sentiment is the talk that China is willing to negotiate with the new Trump administration, or is kind of showing signs already behind the scenes that they're willing to negotiate. There was a article that landed in my inbox this morning, or kind of some behind the scenes sort of conversation that we really are going to see this Trump administration, and granted, grain of salt, take it with it, because who the heck knows. But one of the things that I've kind of pushed out is it feels like, especially with the change in chief of staff and some of the change in guard of folks that he's got surrounding him, we're going to take a more moderated approach to things, or at least a bit more in the way of, hey, I'm willing to do this, but I need you to come to me and let's negotiate. And so one of the things that I've seen kind of pick up more is that Trump's going to work, more towards trade deals, than kind of engaging in trade war. But the threat of trade war is there, and the fact that he was so willing and able, or you know what I mean, like the first administration, he was just like, here you go, here's a tariff, there's a tariff, everyone gets a tariff. And so, like, I think that a lot of folks are like, okay, we know you're serious. Like, please don't. What will it take? What kind of metrics do we need? And so I think that's one of those things where if you continue to see this change in sentiment, or this idea that, perhaps the US and China do become more willing to work with one another on certain things, especially because Biden has given Trump, some carrots and sticks, like to remove some of these trade restrictions and some of these other things that are aimed to quote unquote cripple Beijing's, semiconductor industry. You know what I mean? Like, so there are some things that Trump could do that I think, could possibly put the U.S. Agriculture or energy sector in their good graces. And so we just have to watch, because I feel like so many of the super, super negative fundamentals have been factored in. And like we have a long way to go. But I think that what folks are anticipating and what could happen in reality may be two different things.
Yeah. And it kind of plays into the theme that we've been discussing pretty much every day, almost, it feels like, whereas, perhaps, this is a result of Trump kind of putting out they're both kind of putting out olive branches based on the fact we're seeing all this buying from China in the ag space. So perhaps that is doing some work and making Trump realize that, if I play fair, then, I've got a buyer of, there's always going to be a bid there from China. So
it'll be interesting to see. I always felt like the phase one trade deal targets that you had for purchases, the billions upon billions of dollars of ag goods they were supposed to buy, were a little too lofty for reality. But, if we can figure out a different way to kind of, I think there's other things that we can trade now, in the biofuel space and some of these other realms that could be of value. But point three, as positive as I want to be about, okay, well, maybe China won't be so bad. Point three is we need to figure out what the hell we're doing with our biofuel blenders credit here in the U.S. Tax credit, the biofuel blenders credit expires in 11 days at the end of the year. And you're talking about $1 a gallon of credit when it comes to blending. It's a huge, support in there to help kind of engage or help to reinforce domestic demand. And we can say all we want, like, oh, we shouldn't have that, we should have this. I mean, we can argue about that until we're blue in the face. But the reality is there's been a lot of industry built up over the last 4 years, on the back of this idea that the Inflation Reduction Act had 45Z tax credits in it and would incentivize this sort of crush and all of these things. The Biden administration has figured out how to do almost everything left on their to-do list but this. And then there's talk overnight that the Trump administration may work to roll back a lot of this stuff in the Inflation Reduction Act, with a lot of uncertainty over, if that includes these biofuel credits or some of these other things. And everyone wants to quickly say, like, well, of course he's going to roll it back. He hates biofuels. But we've actually seen Zeldin come out and say, no, I'm not against biofuels. DTN had an article, the Nebraska senator had sat down with him and said, are you anti-biofuels? He's like, no, I support biofuels now. So I think we have a lot of assumptions that we've made that we need to correct, but we definitely need to get something from something straightened out, whether it's from Biden or Trump coming out and saying, like, hey, or getting the blenders credit. Like, everyone keeps saying that E85 year round is a big win. I would rather have an extension of the blenders credit first and foremost, and then we can tackle, or E15, excuse me, then we can tackle E15. But I might make folks kind of mad about saying it, but that's where we are. Domestic demand needs to be reinforced. We saw a slowdown in crush versus trader expectations in November. It was part of why we sold off there on Wednesday. And so we definitely could use that here before Christmas. And that is
Beautiful.
it. That is
Beautiful.
all.
Angie,
So
thank you so much for well, basically for the last month or so that we've been doing these. It's been a great way to end the year, getting these started, and many more to come next year. Listeners, especially our usual listeners, that we do notice the recurring listeners coming back to us. So thank you so much for tuning in. And there is much more to come in 2025. Me and Angie are already hatching plans, so stay tuned for
excited.
that.
I am
And
pumped.
yeah, I really am. And I wish everyone Merry Christmas, a happy holidays, and a fantastic new year. And unless the world falls apart between now and New Year, you won't hear from us until 2025.
Exactly. We'll only be here if you need to hear from us. And if you need to
Yeah,
hear from us, then oh no. So
yeah,
yeah, you
exactly.
guys have an awesome holiday too, and everyone that's listening. If you need anything in the meantime though, I'm still floating around the space here, so don't hesitate to reach out with any questions you might have. So have a good one.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, my love. And I will see you later.
See you later.
Goodbye.